When you have to start. Hello students. So today we would start with the course introductory session. This is just a video on what you can expect from this course. Okay. Now, if you have any doubts, you can always stop me and clarify your doubts. And if you need some additional information also, you can post it to forum or you can clarify it at the end of the session. Or probably you can indicate it in the chat also. I would be happy to answer your doubts. Okay. So what do you expect from this course on managerial economics? First of all, let me begin by introducing myself. I'm Dr. Teresa Billy, and I have nearly 20 years of experience in teaching this subject in IBS itself. Okay. So the course summary, what do you expect from this course? Basically, it integrates microeconomic principles, which many of you would have studied if you have done your BBA or BCom or BA economics or whatever. You would have studied this as pure theory. So what we're going to do here is integrate it to management decision making using the case study method. So there will be extensive use of cases, and also we will annex relevant Excel tools and map it to the topics wherever it is possible. Well, what you really expect or you can expect from this course at the end of the session is that you'll get a sound knowledge of the theories, how to analyze the behavior of economic agents. When I say economic agents, I mean individuals and firms, how these entities behave. Okay. Further, it also aims at providing application of various economic theories. Now, this is where the difference lies. So, suppose we are analyzing law of demand, for example. Okay. Now, law of demand states that other things being equal, the demand for a commodity varies inversely with its price. So there is an inverse relationship between price of a product and the quantity demanded. That is what the simple law of demand states. But there is a catch there. So that is the assumption. The underlying assumption there is that other things are held constant. It's a simplifying assumption, which means the income of the consumer, the tastes, the, the seasonal factors, everything is held constant. Okay. So we will test it with reality, with the use of certain products, the behavior of the certain products, how the demand has behaved over the years and how it relates to price, whether it justifies the theory or not. If it doesn't, what are the reasons why these products are exceptions? So extensive use of case study method to apply these theories would be a very integral part of this course this semester. Moving over to the course contents, we would, as usual, start with introduction. Now, introduction just introduces you to the basic concepts of efficiency, scarcity, and also talks about the, the major economic systems operating in the world, like mixed economy, capitalist economy, and socialistic economy, and how they address the issues of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. The three basic questions asked, which defines these systems. Okay. So that would be your introductory part. Now, as soon as your introductory part is over, we will quickly, in the next session, move over to supply and demand analysis. So this is the very basic topic, the basis of your managerial economics course. So under demand analysis, we would start with, as I mentioned a while ago, law of demand. How do you construct a demand curve from the demand schedule? And what are the exceptions to the law of demand? Why does the demand curve slope downwards? And so on. Supply will also be analyzed on similar lines. And we would also be moving into another concept, which is very important from the revenue perspective, and that is the concept of elasticity. So elasticity can be classified as price elasticity, cross elasticity, and income elasticity. What are the implications of these on the revenue of a firm? Okay, and how do you analyze this using the microeconomic principles? Then we move over to consumer behavior, which talks about the buying behavior and the factors governing this buying behavior. So how do the microeconomic theories of utility and indifference curve analysis help in studying consumer behavior? Okay, so this is what this chapter entails. Again, another very interesting chapter, which will be studied better with the use of case studies. A very integral part of this course would be production and cost analysis. As it is shown together, both these aspects are linked to each other. So production talks about how you define a production function. What do you mean by returns to scale? Okay. And what are the various concepts of production studied in microeconomics, like marginal product, average product, etc. What are the different types of cost, like marginal cost, average cost, and how, on what basis or criteria do you classify them under various heads? Moreover, it analyzes how production and cost are interlinked, okay, or like mirror images, how they are linked. So this will also be analyzed. Then we move over to a very interesting aspect or a very interesting topic in managerial economics, which many of you can very well identify with, is market structure analysis and estimation. Now, broadly, all industries can be classified under 4 market forms: perfect competition, monopoly, and under imperfect competition, you have monopolistic competition and oligopoly. So the characteristic features distinguishes each of these market structures. And more importantly, we would also be studying in depth how price and output is determined in each of these market structures. Then we go over to pricing practices. So what are the widely used pricing practices in industry? Example, markup pricing, premium pricing, and the list goes on. We would be studying it in detail when we come to that. And last but not the least, we would also be studying game theory, because as you all know, we are living under conditions of risk and uncertainty, and almost all decisions are taken under conditions of risk and uncertainty. So business decisions as well. Okay, so you cannot afford to ignore the reactions of the rivals, the competitors, and you also have to be proactive in expecting what they are going to do. So you cannot take a decision independently. So there is a certain amount of interdependence, and how the rival response to your decision will decide what your next move will be or should be. So game theory studies all the principles governing competitive behavior under oligopoly, and how you cannot afford to ignore the reactions of your rivals. Now, the suggested textbook, what I would really recommend for you would be Managerial Economics by Robert Pendick and Daniel Rubenfield. And there is another textbook, Managerial Economics by Samuelson, excuse me, which is also widely used. And that is, these are the 2 books you can refer to. Now, Robert Pendick and Daniel Rubenfield is a very good book because it has got supportive caselets for practically every topic. So you have, in addition to the recommended case studies for you from ICMR and CDC cases, this book gives you caselets for every topic and maps the theory with reality using these caselets. So that is the advantage of this book. Paul Samuelson's Managerial Economics is also a very, very popular and widely used and accepted book to study this subject. Now we move over to a very important aspect, which I would like to right in the beginning emphasize, that since we are in a lockdown, we would be relying heavily on blended online learning, okay, which is referred to as quick force along with Zoom live sessions, okay, in ICFI. So this is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning. So what is this synchronous and asynchronous learning? We'll just move into that. Synchronous learning is the conventional method of study through lectures, live sessions involving syllabus related topics via Zoom application, and also using Excel tools like pivot tables, etc. And using Zoom to show all these things related to your topic. Now, this is blended with or integrated with asynchronous learning, basically Moodle enabled learning, which in ICFI is termed as quick course, where uh, which all of you have access to. And once you access quick course, on the course page, you will find videos, PPTs, etc. embedded there for your study. Okay. And by now you would be familiar and you would also have access to quick course. So all you need to do is to go to the course page and access these things from your course page. Moreover, we also have to conduct evaluations, as you all know. And what are the modes of evaluation we are going to follow will also be indicated there. Example, quiz, which is a widely used measure, forum, assignments, etc., and how you are going to use each of these. So this would be reflected in the uh, activity column under your session. Okay, so you'll have to access it from there. As I was mentioning earlier, we are going to use relevant Excel tools. And these Excel tools cannot be applied for all topics. Okay, so I have identified three broad topics where Excel tools can be applied. So statistical functions of forecasting, sales forecasting, can be also used as a proxy for demand forecasting, and that can be applied under demand analysis and forecasting. Regression, depending upon the availability of data, can be used to show the impact of select factors like price, income, etc. on demand. Again, this is subject to the availability of data. You can use this tool. The next one is cost and production. Now, if you have a lot of secondary data on cost, you can actually use the data sets of companies' cost-related information and classify them under different heads. Okay, so what do you mean by sunk cost, fixed cost, variable cost, etc. can be understood by using pivot tables and organizing the data in that manner. Markets. Now, markets, as I told you, is a very interesting topic. So we could insert recommended charts and graphs to study the market share of different industries and classify them under different market forms. Okay. Last but not the least, as I had mentioned earlier, we would be heavily relying on case study method. So the kind of recommended cases are demand analysis. For demand analysis, it would be understanding crude oil demand, Tesla in China. Can Starbucks sustain its high prices in China? Which is a case which can be applied for price elasticity as well as the chapter on pricing. Market structure cases would involve the C factor, cement industry in India, unhealthy oligopoly and controls. As the very name suggests, it is a case which would relate to oligopoly. The next one is ambassador, riches to rags, is competition the culprit. So that will be a case under market structure. And a very recent case is a case, as you all know, about Reliance Jio, okay, and its growing popularity. The case talks about whether Reliance Jio is marching towards a monopoly. So this basically deals with evolving market structures. So how that even if an industry falls under a particular market structure at present, it can evolve and transition into another market structure over a period of time. So this case basically deals with that. This and several other caselets, both from your textbook as well as other reliable sources, can be used to add value to this course. So what I would like to say here is that you are free to express your doubts via chat, or you can also ask me questions wherever necessary. Um, the reliance on cases is a very integral part here, and that is what makes the difference in an MBA course or adds value here. Also, use of Excel tools uh, upgrades your learning. Okay, so anything can be successful only if there is cooperation and participation. So I would expect you to look at the activities that are posted using the activity link after every session and complete those activities. So the second half of the class would be activity completion. So I would like you to, in addition to listening to the lectures and clearing your doubts, you can, also move ahead and complete your activities so that I would know that you are able to apply what you have studied. So that will be the way forward. And I look forward to your cooperation. And you can post your questions either as and when the class or session is in progress, or you can wait till the lecture is over and the question answer session is announced. Okay, I leave that to you. So uh, thank you for your participation. Hmm.